And you're on the Cody coaster. Hi!
Being progressive on camera doesn't make you a good parent. Just ask Cody. Watching that scene unfold was incredibly difficult. Leon came in with walls up, arms crossed, emotionally, if not literally.
I just really need you to stop pushing me because I'm.
They claimed to be open to questions, yet responded to each one with offense and disdain.
You plan your wedding and stuff like that, and
I can still get married.
When Mary asks things like, "Are you still going to get married?" or "Do you still want kids?" Totally reasonable questions for a parent trying to understand. Leon shut her down like she'd asked something outrageous. Mary wasn't disapproving. She was heartbroken. Not because her child came out, but because she wasn't part of the journey.
joyful, and I'm sitting there like, it just was a shock to me.
She was learning, in front of cameras no less, that her only biological child had kept a fundamental part of their identity from her. That hurts. Not because of who Leon is, but because of what it revealed about their relationship.
It takes a lot of guts in here in front of all of us.
With this family, it takes a lot of guts.
Cody and Robyn, of course, had polished, supportive reactions, but that's easier when you're not the parent feeling blindsided. Cody has a dozen other kids to experience milestones with. Robyn has her own children and a more traditional family setup. Mary had one child, one idea of the future. And in one conversation, all of that changed.
Just because you were like the first person I ever met that like said, hey, it's okay if someone's gay.
It also seemed obvious that Cody and Robyn had been told in advance, leaving Mary to find out last. That wasn't an oversight. It felt intentional, like Leon was making a statement. Mary was left piecing together not just the coming out, but the realization that her relationship with her child had deteriorated more than she realized. She had to process three things at once: that Leon trusted others first, that her role as a mother had been diminished, and that her imagined future for her child was gone. That's a massive emotional hit, especially for someone raised in a conservative and deeply traditional environment. There's a difference between shock and rejection. People need time to process life-altering information, especially when it shifts something as personal as a parent's understanding of their child's life. That's not about intolerance. That's about recalibration. The problem wasn't that Mary asked questions.
Just want you to let me in. I feel like you're blocking me out, and
The problem was that any attempt to engage or understand was met with sarcasm and condescension. Leon carried an air of superiority throughout the conversation, as if every question Mary asked was ignorant or offensive by default. But understanding doesn't happen through silence or shame. If Leon wanted to be known and accepted, they also needed to give their mother the space to catch up, to learn. This wasn't just a coming out. It was a moment of reckoning for their entire relationship, one that revealed the emotional distance between them. The tragedy wasn't the identity change. It was how clearly it showed the rift that had already taken root. And now, in hindsight, it's telling who stayed.
But what bothers me is her disposition toward me, that she laughs, mocks my suffering.
Cody, the one praised for his textbook perfect response, ultimately walked away. Mary, the one who stumbled, stayed. That says more than any single conversation ever could. Sexual frustration might be driving this entire marriage.
This side of our dad is kind of freaky.
He's a teenager again.
Yeah, I love Robyn just.
Cody and Robyn's early relationship appeared intensely physical, with Cody radiating high energy and
So when I found out Cody kissed Robyn, oh my God.
Robyn showing a notably assertive personality. Over time, however, Robyn has adopted a more demure, reserved demeanor, while Cody has grown increasingly irritable, jealous, and obsessive. During the pandemic, Cody's discomfort with his son's sexual maturity, expressed through jealousy and controlling behavior, was striking.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay sharing rooms?
Yeah.
So you got
Meanwhile, Robyn's long-term co-sleeping and extended breastfeeding with her children, especially Oriella, likely created a prolonged absence of intimacy in their relationship. In many households, prolonged co-sleeping tends to limit physical closeness between partners, which could have contributed to Cody's mounting frustration.
and then he goes back to the anger thing again. So you like be sitting there talking to him and he just goes down this kind of crazy wild ride and all of a sudden you're on the Cody coaster. Hi!
This pattern may help explain his dramatic emotional swings and increasingly sycophantic devotion to Robyn. It's possible he believes that complete obedience and deference to her will rekindle their sexual relationship. If so, his increasingly erratic behavior could stem from the misguided assumption that intimacy can be earned through servitude. At the same time, once Robyn recognized that withholding affection gave her control and that Cody would reward her passivity with gifts, loyalty, and indulgence, it would make sense for her to lean into the role of the aloof partner. Her reserved behavior may serve a strategic function, preserving her influence by keeping Cody perpetually chasing her approval. This context also reframes Cody's sudden, reawakened interest in Janelle. Their earlier relationship was functional and multifaceted, marked by mutual respect, co-parenting, and shared goals.
I want to be able to get up in the morning and not wake everybody up.
I vote not being next to Janelle.
Janelle, however, eventually prioritized a broader life beyond Cody's orbit, seeking fulfillment in work, children, grandchildren, and personal growth. Cody, in contrast, remained fixated on Robyn, even while displaying signs of deteriorating emotional stability. His ongoing belief that Robyn is the pinnacle of desirability, despite mounting dysfunction, suggests a deeper delusion. He has even expressed paranoia that other men covet her, reinforcing the idea that his perceptions are increasingly disconnected from reality. Physically, there are signs Cody may be using testosterone supplements, which can increase aggression and amplify existing emotional volatility. Combined with potential age-related sexual health issues, pre-existing authoritarian tendencies, and exposure to extreme ideologies during the pandemic, this creates a volatile mix. The result is a man who appears increasingly isolated, erratic, and desperate for control. The version of Cody seen in the first season of the show was likely a curated persona, one crafted to promote the family's religious beliefs and secure the success of the series. The early Las Vegas years were buoyed by financial relief and newfound stability. But once that shine wore off, the cracks began to show. The pandemic merely accelerated a breakdown that had long been brewing. Don't call it blending when it's actually bulldozing. By the time the family settled in Lehi in 2006,
Today our first stop is Lehi, Utah, where our old home is. And
the original Brown children had already endured more than a dozen moves. They had lived through instability, financial strain, and emotional upheaval.
Scaring the crap out of me. And every time I started packing stuff.
Janelle had even left Cody for several years before returning. And it was her inherited money that allowed the family to finally secure a stable home. For the first time in their lives, the kids had space, security, and a sense of normalcy. Then, just as things began to improve, everything was upended.
Wives, I wanted the family. I didn't just want the man.
love should be multiplied, not divided.
Cody decided to remarry, bringing in a new wife and 4 additional children. The timing couldn't have been worse. The family had just started to flourish, and now resources, already stretched thin, would be even further divided. Shoes couldn't be replaced, car repairs were neglected, and the children were expected to quietly absorb the cost of another family being added to theirs. When Cody made the announcement in the Lehi living room that the family was expanding,
we've had 3 moms and a dad. Children have never been in the culture of...
The original children put on brave faces. They wanted to be supportive, but their expressions betrayed their true thoughts. This was a decision made impulsively, without concern for the consequences.
It was clear to them that the adults were acting irrationally, led by emotion rather than practicality.
Whenever we do something like yard work, I've always tried to get everybody, all the children involved.
The effort to integrate came almost entirely from the original family. They attempted to welcome the newcomers, adapt traditions, and build relationships. But instead of meeting halfway, the new additions, particularly Robyn, came in expecting the entire family structure to change around them. Established customs were pushed aside. Even small things like kitchen norms were replaced by rigid new rules. Any sense of mutual adaptation was quickly erased. There was no visible effort to honor or blend into the family's pre-existing culture.
We're discussing, like, you know how we do this, like, Secret Santa thing for Christmas?
Yeah.
So Robyn was like, we should do it over Zoom.
Instead, a new culture was imposed, and when it didn't fit, blame was shifted to those who resisted. Practical solutions like unifying the grocery budget into a single account for the entire family were ignored. This would have eliminated arguments about which home the children ate at, a clear, simple way to ensure equality, but it was never pursued. Meanwhile, Robyn's children seemed ill-equipped to build relationships. Isolated socially and emotionally, they had no roadmap for integrating into a large, already established household. Being constantly positioned as innocent victims and shielded from accountability only made things worse. Rather than being encouraged to connect, they were kept separate and elevated, making true bonding almost impossible. In the end, the expectation was not to join a family, but to transform it. The original children were expected to adapt, while Robyn retained control over how, when, and if her side would participate. Any natural connections that began to form, especially when her children started mirroring the personalities of their new siblings, were quickly curbed. What was desired wasn't unity, but compliance. The children, despite their age, could see the flaws in the plan.
Honestly, I don't think we need any more. 17 is hard to deal with.
Yep, I agree with Hayden. I think we have enough kids.
While the adults reshaped the household based on impulse and idealism, the children stood as the only consistent voices of reason. What Cody Brown did in this scene would get most people canceled. The day before Madison's wedding, Cody Brown prepares to officiate the ceremony. And naturally, he decides a simple, heartfelt speech won't do. Instead, while chatting with Caleb's father,
I'm sure that would be a memory maker for you.
And I am in the state here of I'm giving Caleb my princess.
he unveils an idea that only Cody could think is profound. He wants to knight Caleb, sword and all. Because what says eternal love like a theatrical, medieval gesture? Then comes the explanation.
This with you, and I want to get some feedback from you on this idea. I did a bar mitzvah for Logan, okay? We're not Jewish.
Cody proudly shares that he once gave his son Logan a bat mitzvah. Not a bar mitzvah, which would be the correct term for a boy, but a bat mitzvah, traditionally for girls. He quickly adds, "We're not Jewish. I just had a good friend who is a Jew."
I can say it in Hebrew.
Really?
Yes. A friend of mine who's a Jew wrote.
The phrasing alone is jarring. While Jew is not inherently a slur, context and delivery matter, especially when dropped into a completely misapplied ceremony and paired with a clear lack of cultural understanding. The whole scene walks the line between ignorance and performative spirituality. This isn't an isolated moment. In previous episodes,
Welcome to our Passover Seder!
So Passover Seder.
Cody has been seen reciting Hebrew blessings or referencing Jewish traditions as if sampling from a spiritual buffet, not out of genuine respect or faith connection, but seemingly for dramatic effect or personal image. The knighting concept, similarly, seems less about Caleb and more about Cody inserting himself into the moment.
Now rise, a knight and a servant of God.
The elaborate gesture feels theatrical, unnecessary, and misaligned with the actual purpose of a wedding officiant. Such instances reflect a broader pattern seen in certain religious subcultures, where Jewish customs are adopted, often inaccurately, in an attempt to emulate biblical authenticity.
Tonight we're celebrating Hanukkah. I know we're not Jews, so.
Practices are selectively borrowed and reshaped, frequently losing their original meaning in the process. While Cody's actions may stand out for their eccentricity, they also highlight a deeper issue. the appropriation of religious traditions without context or understanding, repackaged as spiritual depth. And in this case, it adds an awkward, misplaced layer to what should have been a meaningful family event. They say Robyn was just helping, but here's the part they conveniently leave out.
Robyn appears genuinely confused as to why it's an issue that her mansion was funded by the rest of the family, especially since, in her view, she did help out in the beginning. To refresh everyone's memory, here's a recap of her notable early contributions.
Emotional support during labor. She offered comfort to Cody by kissing him while Christine was giving birth, a touching moment of solidarity with Cody.
Isabel, you guys, this should be a snack, not a...
Nutritional oversight. Robyn ensured the children avoided overeating by choosing not to feed them. Their current health and figures must surely be credited to her dietary discipline. Frugal planning.
We keep joking that we're not joking, but we're serious, that we really just want to sit on a...
By skipping grocery shopping, she managed to save enough money to take a vacation to Hawaii with Cody. A clear example of financial strategy benefiting the greater good. Tax optimization. When her business failed, it conveniently counted as a loss on the family's tax return, offering a small silver lining.
Do I just put the bill on the counter? How do you want to work this?
Bill organization. She made it easier for others to manage household finances by leaving her unpaid bills out in plain sight.
This is the day before we're going to Hawaii.
Delegated moving responsibilities. By never packing her belongings, she created an opportunity for the other children to develop responsibility by doing it for her. As the family's television income grew, so did Robyn and Cody's ambitions. Cody insisted on a large custom home to accommodate himself and Robyn, despite more practical housing solutions being available. During the relocation to Flagstaff, intended to be temporary until construction began on Coyote Pass, there were reasonable options. 4 rental townhomes or apartments in a single complex would have kept the family connected and close. Instead, the family scattered into separate houses in a suburban neighborhood, each seeking privacy over unity. Robyn's residence, notably larger than necessary, housed her younger children in her own bedroom, while the rest of the family adjusted to increasingly strained arrangements. Janelle was willing to live anywhere. Christine's marriage was deteriorating, worsened by the constant reminders of Cody and Robyn's intimacy. Mary remained passive, open to any direction, but none was given. Robyn also took great care to maintain order in her household, such as labeling food to ensure children from other households knew not to eat anything from her fridge, even if their mothers paid for it. Her financial priorities were clear. Decorative trinkets, porcelain dolls, lavish vacations, and luxury items often took precedence over basic needs, like ensuring Isabel had more than cereal for meals. In summary, Robyn's contributions may have started with gestures she considered helpful, but over time, they evolved into patterns of self-interest and entitlement, often at the expense of the rest of the family. You won't believe who came off as the most abusive in a panel about abuse survivors, and it wasn't the victims. The panel discussion between the Browns and former members of polygamous communities was deeply unsettling.
This week, our family is participating in a panel discussion about polygamy.
Christine and Janelle came across as naive, perhaps well-meaning, but clearly lacking a full understanding of the trauma being shared.
In stark contrast, Robyn and Cody were overtly combative.
Antagonistic toward it.
I'm worried that it's just going to be another ambush.
Unable to engage with the panelists' testimonies without making it about themselves.
Do not make me a victim, sweetie. Talking about...
Robyn's choice to call one of the panelists sweetie was especially telling. Ostensibly a term of endearment, it was wielded with condescension, a dismissive jab dressed up as civility. The panelists had simply asked a question, but Robyn reacted as if she'd been personally attacked. It was a moment that seemed rehearsed, part of a broader pattern where she and Cody insert rehearsed lines into conversations, lines they clearly believe make them sound assertive or in control, even when they're glaringly out of place. The disconnect became even more apparent during the end-of-season interview. Robyn claimed that the panelists weren't there to find answers or to understand. A striking statement, given that she herself had shown no willingness to understand their perspectives. She further minimized their experiences by saying, "We're not saying these girls didn't have a hard time," stopping short of using the term abuse. It was left to Cody, surprisingly, to interject with the correct term.
Myself analyzed as a cultural group.
It was like, so I'm a specimen.
Christine and Janelle continued to express disappointment in the panelists, a reaction rooted more in defensiveness than malice. Still, it underscored how deeply ingrained their perspectives are, even when faced with clear accounts of harm. What made the exchange so revealing was how transparently Robyn and Cody reacted to survivors speaking their truths. Their responses provided a real-time demonstration of how those who perpetuate or benefit from harmful systems often respond when confronted with the consequences. Rather than listening, they defaulted to self-justification and blame shifting. Ironically, their behavior served as one of the most powerful arguments against the system they were defending. Their need to be validated, particularly by survivors of polygamy-related abuse, only emphasized how hollow their justifications were. One panelist's story of being forced to financially support both her husband and his second wife was particularly harrowing, and yet it mirrored dynamics present in the Browns' own history, where emotional and financial labor was unevenly distributed in the name of family.
That the other people on the panel were coming in.
Ultimately, the discussion offered a chilling but instructive glimpse into how harmful beliefs are maintained and protected, often through denial, manipulation, and thinly veiled contempt. This is what happens when a mediocre man thinks he's God's gift to women.
The great pecs and the six-pack abs just felt like a piece of meat.
Cody once claimed, without a hint of irony, that Janelle was using him like a piece of meat, a pool boy, but not as a real person. The irony is staggering. This is someone who radiates mediocrity, yet somehow believes he's a top-tier partner.
I wonder if everybody else is already over there. To be perfectly honest, we are very disorganized.
It's no surprise he attempted to build his own religious following. He embodies the energy of a cult leader who can't quite get the cult off the ground.
I was single and I was in my early 20s. And in Utah, that's a kind of a lonely time.
His misplaced confidence likely traces back to his early status in a church community where women were taught their purpose was to marry and raise children. In that environment, simply being young and mobile made him stand out. Teenage Cody didn't need a cane, didn't smell like retirement, and could stay upright long enough to dance. That alone made him desirable. The standards were so low, and he mistook circumstance for charisma.
I got nice pecs and a great six-pack abs.
He came to believe every woman wanted him and that he was somehow a stellar dancer.
Shut your mouth and let me talk to you for a minute.
No.
You stay.
Even if he had some physical appeal in his younger years, his current behavior, petty, arrogant, and often mean-spirited, renders him anything but attractive.
I'm more at peace when he's not around. So... right now.
Of all his relationships, Janelle always seemed like the one he viewed as a near equal. Unlike the others who fit more traditional domestic roles, she brought a more pragmatic approach. She was focused on the family and her career, not homemaking. In a way, Cody may have secretly enjoyed the dynamic. Being used might have validated his self-image.
Look, you have to know, I would consider a plural marriage again. Like, I like it. I like plural marriage.
Janelle has described their relationship as more of a friendship with benefits. Her first marriage, to Mary's brother, didn't last, perhaps in part due to differences in personality. If her ex shared Mary's love for order and cleanliness, it's easy to see why it failed. Janelle wasn't interested in playing the perfect housewife. When her first marriage ended, Cody seemed like an upgrade, more charming, better looking, and emotionally detached enough to suit her needs.
See, ours is very amiable. It's very amiable.
She entered their marriage with full awareness that it would be part-time. It was never a romantic match, but a strategic one. She could live how she wanted, raise a family, and not have to conform to expectations of domestic perfection. Cody didn't complain, likely because she worked hard and expected little from him emotionally. She understood who he was, accepted his limitations, and made the best of it. Time to wrap it up here. Thanks for being part of this moment. I'm Elena, wishing you peace, clarity, and a gentle ta-ta for now.